I want to begin by giving a little bit of a history on the XPRIZE. So you may not remember this, but the organization is actually about 22 years old. It's kind of hard to imagine that. It was 22 years ago that a dear friend of mine started me on a venture. Greg Marinak gave me a copy of The Spirit of St. Louis in late 93, I call it 94, to inspire me to start, or actually finish my pilot's license. And I read about the story of Charles Lindbergh, his epic journey across the Atlantic. It got me to finish my pilot's license, also started what we're doing here today. And I call that early period the concept phase. Joined by Greg Marinak and Bob Weiss and a number of you here today, it was this idea of, could a prize actually bring about the creation of spaceships? In '96, we launched it in St. Louis. And you'll hear the story over and over again. Didn't have the money. I think the Greek word is chutzpah. And in '96, we launched it and then spent a long time trying to raise the capital. In 2001, we met our patron saints, the Ansari family, and began, yes, we have so much thankful to the Ansari family. Amazing entrepreneurs and amazing philanthropists. And it became known as the $10 million Ansari XPRIZE. Won in 2004, I like to say it was an overnight success after 10 years of hard work, right? And it began an epic period of growth, and we are now entering the fifth phase of this foundation. It's a phase of hypergrowth and global impact. And you're going to hear me say this a number of times. This next phase is the vision of our new CEO and the amazing team that we have at the XPRIZE Foundation. I'm so excited about where we're going next and so excited. This is truly the beginning of that next phase of where we're going. So our MTP, our massively transformative purpose, to borrow a term from my dear friend Salim at XPRIZE, is to build a bridge to abundance for all. And those of you who know me know I'm the abundance guy, and that we're living during the most amazing time ever in human history, right? The best time ever to be alive, where nothing is impossible. And the realization I had years ago, it was that technology that you're all creating, that we're using, is the force that takes what used to be scarce and makes it abundant. Over and over again, what used to be scarce is becoming abundant. So we're creating abundance for everyone across all of these areas, right? We have 8,000 times more sunlight that hits the surface of the earth than we use as a species. It's just not in usable form yet, but it will be. You have abundant energy, you have abundant water, healthcare, housing. The challenge is that most of us, year in, year out, day out, are being told by the news media, who I like to call a drug pusher, that the world is filled with all of these negative things. And the challenge is that we pay 10 times more attention to negative news than positive news, because evolutionarily, it saved your life 10,000 years ago. And so we are bombarded by negative news over and over and over again. It's not that it's not true. It's just that it's not a balanced view of all the amazing things going out there in the world. And so I want to share for a few minutes the evidence for abundance, right? That we are living in a world today that over the last century, we have tripled the per capita income for every nation on this planet. We have doubled the human lifespan. We have dropped the cost of food 13-fold. The cost of energy has dropped 30-fold. Transportation 100-fold. Communications thousands-fold. This is some of the data to share. This is from the cover of The Economist. Over the next 20 years, we're going to take every human on this planet out of extreme poverty. Right? We've gone from a handful of democracies 200 years ago to 100 around the world. I love this chart. Back in 1950, 100 countries around the world had an average of 6 children per family. Two things reduce population growth rate pressures, making a population healthier and better educated. We're going to be talking about XPRIZes in both of those areas. You do that, we go into negative growth rates. We've doubled the human lifespan over the last 100 years. We're about to double it again. I love this. Even while the quality of life has exploded around the world, we have halved the number of hours per week that we work. I know you guys all work twice as much as everybody else. But I love the fact that the French work the least number of hours. Sorry, I had to sneak that in. And, look at transportation safety. This orange line are airlines, right? Truly, the safest mode of transportation on the planet is to fly by air. And I thank our friends at ANA who have just become our partners, and we're going to be growing our relationship with them. And then that blue line is automotive. And we're about to see that line go to 0 deaths as autonomous cars come online around the world and save 1.25 million lives. This is global death rates from natural catastrophes. Look at that plummeting in the 1960s and 70s. Why? It's satellites. Satellites being able to predict natural disasters and warn people and get help in that golden hour. It used to be dangerous to have a baby on planet Earth, right? Look at maternal mortality rates plummeting. I love this. Years of education from like 3 years to look at those lines going up across to 20 years of education around the world. I love this. This is how cheap can solar get? I'm not going to ask you to read this chart, but I will tell you is that natural gas is at 7 point something cents. Just a few months ago, in South Africa, we set a new record price of 2.91 cents per kilowatt hour, coming in at a fraction of natural gas and coal. A lot of my friends are talking about a world in the next 20 years in which we're going to have 80+% solar. This is from Steven Pinker's book called The Better Angels of Our Nature. And today, you may not know this or believe this after watching the Crisis News Network or the Constantly Negative News Network or whatever you call CNN, is that we're living during the most peaceful time ever in human history. Now, I make a lot of fun of CNN, especially after Ali Velshi left, but a dear friend of mine, Fareed Zakaria, did an amazing piece about a month ago. And I just want you to take this in for a moment, just to know what an amazing world we truly live in.
Let me try to present the broader trends to you in a series of graphs produced by Harvard's Steven Pinker and Andrew Mack, published in Slate. If you are terrified by the massive rise in terrorism you hear about, here is the chart detailing mass killings and genocides, which includes all Islamic terror. Since 1945, as you can see, it is a stunning decline with a small uptick, which is almost entirely in countries like Syria, Iraq, and Nigeria. We have data on civilians killed since 1988, and here's what that chart looks like. Here are some other charts worth looking at on the decline in homicides in America and the world. On the victimization of children, a huge drop. On the decline of rape in America. And one more chart, this time from Pew, the net migration from Mexico to America since the Great Recession has been 0. Yes, 0.
So why is this happening? Why these amazing trend lines, right? It's clearly not smarter politicians, that's for sure. And it's not that we've had brain upgrades, at least not yet. It's the impact of exponential technologies. It's the technologies and accessing the crowd that we're about to talk about for the next 2.5 days. It truly makes the world we're living in far better, far more peaceful, far more prosperous. So I love this chart. This is the massive rise of global computational capacity. At the same time that it's exploding as a human right on the planet, we also see bandwidth costs going to 0, computational costs going to 0, memory costs going to 0, and global connectivity exploding. So what hits me at the XPRIZE, and if you think about it, the XPRIZE has been in crowdsourcing for 20+ years. 1,000 years ago, if you wanted to solve a problem in your country, in your region, you had to be the king or the queen. And even then, the best you could do was deploy your troops or change your monetary policies. 100 years ago, if you were the robber baron, the industrialist, you could build the railroads, the libraries, the steel mills. Today, any of us can. Today, any of us can truly change the world. And that's what this program, this gathering, is about.